Now that we've learned how to add videos to our apps, let's do the same thing with audio. So as usual, we'll start a new project and we'll see that the process for working with sound is very similar to working with video, but we do have a little bit of extra flexibility built in, which we'll use to create our own buttons to control the audio. While that's setting up, let's just download a sound effect to use within our app. There's loads of places online when you can get free sound effects. I'm going to use soundbible.com. If that's not available when you're watching this video, just Google for free sound effects and you'll find a bunch of options. I'm going to look for this marbles clip here. And I'll just use a quick bit of flash to listen to it. Oh, and there it is. Wonderful. And it's downloaded as well. So it's right there as a WAV file. You can get it as an MP3 as well. Either will work fine. I'll stick with the WAV file. Okay, so to add the file to our app works in exactly the same way as it does with video. So let's open the resources folder in Finder or Windows Explorer. Create a new folder called RAW. And then I'll just simplify the file name a bit. Drag that into the RAW folder. Again, if it doesn't update, just right click and synchronize res. Okay. Now, unlike the video player, there's no actual visual component to the audio player by default. It just plays in the background. So all we need to do is write a couple of lines of code in the onCreate method. And we'll start by setting up a media player, which we'll call media player. And this is going to be set up purely to create our one sound effect. So media player dot create, and the context again is this app, i.e. this, and we want to create a sound effect for r.raw. I've forgotten what I called it. Marbles, that's it. And then the location of the resource, so r.raw.marbles. And just a note, it might come up with an error here. I've actually just waited 5 minutes or so for it to detect the raw folder because the raw was coming up in red. It didn't detect it, so I just ran the app and then it worked fine. So if you have that problem that it doesn't detect the raw folder, just complete the app, run it, and hopefully that'll fix the issue for you. And then to make it play, we just use media player dot start. Simple as that. So 2 lines of code to run some audio in your app. Let's give it a listen. Hopefully you heard those lovely marbles there. Okay, so super simple, but of course what we don't have is any kind of interaction with the audio, unlike what we did with the video. So with audio we have to create our own system to control our sound. So let's do that now. We'll get rid of the text view and we'll drag in a couple of buttons. Here we go, just give them some constraints so they don't move all over the place when we run the app. So we'll have a play button, which will run the play method. And we'll also have a pause button, running the pause method. Okay, so quick challenge for you. Can you reconfigure the code so instead of playing the media at the start, it plays it when you press the play button? Go for it. All right, hope you managed that. It's really just a matter of creating the play method and moving the code into it. So public void doesn't return anything. Method's called play. It's called by a view. That is the button. And this is the code that we need to play our sound. Simple as that. Let's give it a quick go. Okay, so we'll press play. And there we go. Now notice you can actually create several instances of the sound playing over each other. So that can be quite handy if it's a game or something and you want the sound to play over and over again. But if you're playing music, you might not want that behavior. So you might need to adjust for that. All right, I'm going to set the pause button as a challenge as well. So see if you can work out how you would set the pause button to pause the sound. Go for it. All right, hope you managed it. You may have spotted that there's a method inside the media player class called pause. That's the method that we want. The trick is to connect to the media player, but that's fairly straightforward to do. We'll create our method called pause, called by the other button. And we just need to use mediaplayer.pause, but we need to be able to access the media player. So the trick is to take the media player out of the play method and define it inside the main activity class. So we can create it there, just an empty variable, and then set it up on play. And now we can use mediaplayer.pause to pause it. But can you see what error that might cause? Did you spot it? That if someone presses pause before they press play, this will actually cause the app to crash because the media player is simply an empty object at the moment. There's nothing to pause. So the way I'd get around that would be to set up the media player in the onCreate method so that it's set up when the is open, and then the pause button won't do anything, but it also won't break the app, which is the behavior you want. So now the media player button is created in the class itself. It's set up in the onCreate method. It's started in the play method, and it's paused in the pause method. So let's take a look. Did you hear that? Hopefully so. We can play, and then pause stops it, play starts it again. Okay. There's a few other options there, so feel free to play around with those options, but we're going to stop it for this video, and in the next video we'll look at how to control volume, and that will involve bringing in a new interface element that we haven't used before, the slider.